Hi, Josette.
Hi, Matt. And welcome to the Makers Podcast.
Welcome.
Doo. Hey, that was cute. Well, this is we're done. Our job is done. That was great. No, it's not done. This is a delicious episode we're presenting to you with the wonderful, effervescent, joyous Natasha Loring, phenomenal actress from my home country and a dear friend. And it was such a great thing to have you guys meet finally, because I feel like I've been speaking so much about her to you and you to her, and so yeah, this was great.
Yeah, it was fun. It was everything that I expected it to be. It's it's so funny because I don't know her, and of late I feel like all of our guests have been somebody who I feel like I have known forever, if I didn't know them or whatever, and I think vice versa too. We speak to some people that you've just met for the first time. There's some real kinship there, but I loved meeting Natasha. She's so great and such a skilled actor. It's just phenomenal, and I'm so glad we got to talk about A Shame, your short film.
Yeah, that was great, and wonderful to be able to sort of dig into her process a bit and find out more about what makes her tick. So yeah, I'm very thrilled to present this episode to everybody. And Natasha is currently in the TV series Damn, which airs on Showmax, which is a streaming platform that airs across all of Africa. And we believe some more sales internationally, so we can watch that space for other folks to get involved.
Yes.
And then obviously our short film is doing the festival circuit at the moment, and as soon as it's up and running, Matt and I will share links so folks can watch online when it becomes available.
Very excited to show the world that.
Oh yeah.
It's been we've been living with it for so long, I know. It's just so exciting to see. But we mentioned it at the end of the episode, but another huge congratulations for winning the achievement in writing at the Mammoth Film Festival for A Shame. So excited for you. I always want to say proud, and I know that that's kind of a weird word because I don't have anything to do with it.
You
in
can
that
totally
respect,
say
I'm
proud.
Very
You're
proud of you.
More than entitled. I will receive your pride with all my heart. Thank you. That's very kind.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, my darling. Well, yes, Here comes this episode with Natasha Loring.
Technology.
A real
technology.
Yeah, that's what a real voiceover booth actually
I
looks
know.
like. I'm sitting in my closet, which is real cute, but Tasha's like in an official, like, soundproof.
Should I be closer to my microphone?
Yes.
Oh my God. No, listen, careful, because this voice, your voice and Matt's voice together on a podcast is going to just it's going to shut down. Like, I'm sorry.
About
this is
yours yours is remarkable.
Yeah, exactly. Says voiceover artist extraordinaire Josette Eels.
Oh my God, you guys.
The voice of Thor's mom.
This is very joyful, by the way, that you guys are connecting, that I'm getting to connect my very favorite people together. Tash, meet Matt. Matt, meet Tash.
Well, hello.
Hi, Matt.
Hi. Nice to meet you finally.
Finally,
Yeah.
yes. Also, it's so bizarre that we're all in our respective booths. It's so weird.
It is a little strange. And for the record, Matt's looking the best out of all of us, just saying, in his very sophisticated booth.
Yeah. My fake brick behind me. It's
not even real brick?
No, it's like it's a wallpaper mural that I just threw up there to make it look cool. So
this is a fake booth behind me. I'm actually just in my closet.
I was gonna say, yeah. You just roll it in. Yeah. For a nice background.
Yeah, my coats are back here.
Yeah. Just like
that is ridiculous.
It's a South African thing. Just throw your booth into your closet, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's how we do.
Yeah.
I may actually move my microphone slightly closer so I can speak to you guys. Listen, that was the mic moving, not a fart, okay? Not time for that on this podcast.
I will edit farts out if you want me to. But whatever.
I think this was an unedited podcast.
Yeah.
It makes her way more accessible if we keep her fart sounds in, I think.
That's true.
So now I want to make sure, just because sometimes technology, I just need to make sure what's going on here. that you are actually hearing me through. You are hearing me through the microphone. That's great. That's
Very much
good.
so.
I am.
Who knew that they were
Sounds
charging
great.
in? Okay, great. Everyone's just tuning in to listen to Tech Talk. That's cool.
That's really cool. Listen, Matt has like a really big following of like people who know tech stuff. So
Okay.
they may actually be interested in the sound check. You never know.
All right.
yeah.
Well, if you want to talk about my setup, we can.
Well,
Careful. Let's not get him too
No, we
excited.
can get
Rather
crazy.
than
Let's
Let's
not
go.
talk
Yeah.
dirty like that so soon on the podcast.
Please don't.
23
Please
minutes
don't.
in.
I like those headphones though. Those are cool.
Oh, thanks. They, yeah. I mean, I don't think they're the official headphones of voiceover artists, but I like the way they look
They look
and
cool.
sound, actually. So,
Well, that's the most important thing, you
Yeah.
know, for voiceover, especially that you look
How
good,
they look.
'cause everyone sees you. That's the important
exactly.
thing.
That's what they say.
Well, this is an
Good-faced
absolute
for
delight
voices.
to have
Yes.
you. Thank you for coming and doing this and for giving us your time. Natasha Loring, everybody,
That's
is
me.
a dear associate of mine and darling friend. And we have been blessed to collaborate on a project that Matt wants to kind of dig into because he's just very kind and wants to know about our process. So this is a little different than our regular interviews. I guess we'll probably do a little talk about this project, A Shame, first, which is the short film that Tash and I just took to Mammoth Film Festival. And then we'll dig into some of Tash's more juicier conversation after that about your creative process and your world.
Great. I can't wait. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, so fun. I mean, first things first. I mean, I loved A Shame. You're fantastic in it. So good. It was just such a moving piece, and I was really blessed to have gotten to read the script super, super early on. It was a project that Josette and I had talked about doing together, like mid to late 2019, something like that. And then the world exploded or imploded, I guess, and
I heard about that.
yeah, and everything just kind of stopped. And so I was so excited to see it actually go off and see that vision come to life. And you were so good in it. So well done.
Thank
It was
you.
beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks. It was a really special project to work on. So I'm sure we will speak more about it. But thank you. That really means a lot. And it was a really wonderful project to work on together with Josette.
It's so funny because you start saying like, yeah, we were like talking about working on it together. I'm like, I don't think people realize that about the film business, where it's like things have so many iterations, where it's like you have this idea, you have the script, you kind of put it all together, the momentum gets going, and you're like, cool, this actor's available and this thing's happening, and you think you're really cruising, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, the whole thing's fallen apart and we're starting from scratch. So it's so
Yeah.
interesting because with this particular project, like it was this little tiny seed of an idea that I wrote ages ago and just really wanted to make. And you know, I'd obviously spoken to you about coming up to do it in Colorado and with a lovely actress I'm, you know, friends with. And then obviously the pandemic hit and she got busy, and I was just so over pushing. I think like we all were in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I was just like, I am done pushing anything. And I literally had I think Tash and I had gone for a hike that morning or something. And I was just like, fuck man, I'm over this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I suddenly was like, oh my gosh, like Tash is legitimately the perfect actress for this. I can't believe I ever thought about doing this with anybody else. And then I just sent her a text saying, because by the way, the whole
You were
film,
sneaky
if anyone
about
hasn't
it.
seen it, it's in a bathroom. So I was like, Tash, have you got a bathroom? And she was like, what do you
Why?
mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of like, do you have a bathroom with like a lot of space? And like, that's how it started. And that's
So
literally
funny.
how the movie began.
I was like, what are you talking about? For what? She said, oh, for the script. You read it a while ago. Remember, I said, oh, yeah, I love that script. She was like, well, also, if you're interested, we should make it if, you know, you want to be in it.
Side note, you want to
She
star
helped
in
me
it?
with the bathroom.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we didn't end up shooting in your bathroom anyway, but like
No.
that was my way of just being very casual about it. Like,
You
let's
were.
not be complicated. Like, let's just, if it happens, let's allow it and kind of just see who comes along. And incidentally, Tash is an extraordinary producer and brought like the most beautiful crew and attached like a bunch of really incredible creatives to come and make this project. Like, it all sort of, when Tash and I sort of started, it then just, you know, like it happens, magically just began to sort of swirl around it, which was really cool, actually.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was interesting, actually, because when you were working on the project, I was actually in South Africa living and working there at the time. So I remember when you were talking about it, and weirdly, you know how kind of memories pop up on your phone. And I think there was something that I had liked in 2019 that you had posted that you were making the film, and I commented on it saying, I can't wait to see this one. Not knowing that a few years down the line I would be the one in it,
watching you
and producing it.
It's so cool.
Quite literally the face of the project at a certain point.
Yeah, exactly. And it was
so
it was definitely producing for the first time, but I loved it. It was a really cool process that I didn't know I was going to enjoy so much.
Oh wow! So this is the first one, first time you produced something.
Yes, although I think I tend to like produce other people's lives sometimes without realizing it. So I think I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I produced plays with my sister at home that only my parents were fortunate enough to see. Or unfortunate, I don't know. But I do have a few friends who say that I should walk around with a clipboard because I'll tell them how the best way to do something is.
We all need that person in our lives. Trust me, it's important. Yeah.
Apparently so. But it just kind of, we just started with a DP and reaching out to a friend and got a brilliant crew. And I was like, oh, this is just like planning a party.
Yeah, it was. I loved the camera work in particular was just so wonderful, and also Natasha was your DP and cinematographer, and she was the work that I've seen, of course, since and before the project ramping up is just so beautiful. But this particular short film with the sort of the blue hues that you had in that, the extremely to create something in a bathroom and use almost exclusively like close-ups and extreme close-ups, wide open, it just, and not make it feel claustrophobic is kind of a feat in and of itself, really.
She really is incredible. She is, I mean, it was helpful that she is as tiny as she is as well, so she could fit in these spaces.
Right.
And she chose purposely to use a smaller camera, and she was like, we'll just have really fancy master-built lenses, and that allowed her to get into really small spaces and move and hold the camera in awkward positions, which was, I think, how she achieved a lot of the strange tiny angles that we got into.
Yeah,
I think it also speaks, I mean, not to bring the actor obsession into this, but it also speaks to you as an actress, Tash, because I mean, first off, it's like the rawest material a director can bring to an actor to deal with. And then I'm also like, hey, and we're going to shoot you pretty much exclusively on wide lenses. And most actresses are like, hell no, I do not want to be seen that way. But it's such a testament to who you are as an actress too, that I just love so much about our collaboration, is that you trust me in that way. And you have this sort of, I don't know, like a Frances McDormand vibe about you, when it comes to the work. Like when you align, I mean, dare we say the big names, because I know everyone gets freaked out. But like, it is that kind of, that freedom with like, cool, the work is more important than, the aesthetic and all of that. So I think we were blessed to have you as an actress who's prepared to sort of, be shot in 25 and 18 millimeter, because let's be real, like most actresses are not happy with that.
Well, thank you for saying that. But I must say, there's something I love about a wide lens, even if it's on my face. Too. It's like it distorts it in a way that really brings you in. And even if it is different to see your face in that way, I think I just love the way it looks in general. But I think what allowed me to not care about the aesthetics from my side, obviously the film looked beautiful, but I didn't have to worry about how I looked for, I think, the first time ever in anything I've ever done was because you allowed that space, and I think that is the reason why I was able to do that, because you don't get that luxury a lot of the time. And very often when there's a new camera setup, you have someone coming in and just like de-shining and touching and fixing, which obviously in some roles that's necessary, but you like, just don't look, you don't need to go to the mirror, this is the state that you're in and what you're experiencing, you're looking fine for, and touching up is only going to make you aware of yourself. So I must say that was all because of you. But thank you for
thanks.
putting the compliment on me. I'll take it.
You still did it, honey. Yeah, thanks. No, I mean, I think that's the thing. I guess it's just what I'm fascinated by is just truth over anything, and truth over. Oh, really? Yeah, it's to me the most paramount thing.
It's something special
art
too when the tech is serving the story, and so when you're in a situation where you're getting, maybe it's that wide angle lens, and that it's doing something that maybe most of us would be like, oh, you sure you want to do that? The thing is it serves a story in the sense that it's almost, because it's creating this swirling sort of feel around this character, and you see what she's going through quite literally through the lens of the camera, and so I think maybe that's where some comfortability comes from, when that everything around it is serving the story. And of course I know Josette, and I know that she's creating a very safe and powerful place for you to explore that.
All with love, people. All with love.
Absolutely.
That's how I do it. Just like love the shit out of everybody and hope they do their job.
It's like a
love
Myra.
them into submission.
I just want to love you and squeeze you.
Oh God.
That's
it's pretty much how
I mean,
we
less
just do
terrifying.
voices
She's
all
a
day?
little terrifying, should we?
Yeah, please. Well,
Josh does a lot of really good voices. I really will say that.
Well, the credits are impressive between the two of you in terms of voiceover work. I love it. Voiceover work is just so much fun and so cool. But look, I love what you two have been doing in that respect too. How did that come into your sphere, Natasha? All of the voiceover work.
Gosh, for the longest time, I said I wanted to get into voiceover and had no idea where to begin. I was living in London at the time, and it just seemed like a really foreign concept to me, which, I mean, all it was just asking around and sending a couple emails, but it just seemed just so distant and far away. And it came out of an urgency to find a job really quickly, because my boyfriend and I had broken up. I had nowhere to stay, and I was like, shit, you gotta get on it. So I hate to say that was the reason that actually pushed me over the edge. I was like, voiceover, like, why am I not exploring that option? Met with one agent. He was great. I recorded a couple reads. He was like, brilliant, let's take you on. Started sending me out for things, and it just sort of flowed from there really quickly. And I've been kicking myself that it took me so long to do it. But I think I always knew that it was an interest of mine. I've always watched shows and copy people's accents, and I love animation and dream of being in animation one day.
And so you shall.
Thank you.
Speak it into existence. I love it.
What's the quote from Princess Bride? As you wish, princess. Something like that. Anyway.
Yeah. That's it. Sounds better when Matt says that. Say it again, Matt. Say it again.
As you wish.
There you go.
I was gonna try it again with my Obama voice, but we won't blow the internet up just yet. Right?
Just yet. Yeah, but I think I moved to Los Angeles very soon after that experience, and it was a sort of fake it till you make it. I had not done much, but I went into my voiceover voiceover agent here in Los Angeles. Oh yeah, I've done tons in London and South Africa, and he sent me out for a bunch of auditions, and I was really, really lucky to land one of the roles in the Telltale Game of Thrones video game. And that was like within a month or so of being here, and so it kind of just took off from there, and it's been such a freeing side career to my acting, that the part of not having to care about what I look like, and really being free with the characters, because I'm obviously really limited to the roles I actually look like. But with voiceover, I mean, I can be an alien. I can be a, I can be a plant if I want. I had a tree audition the other day.
You auditioned for a tree?
I've auditioned for many trees, Josette.
It's my dream to be a tree. I want to be a tree.
Speaking her language right there. Cool. That's beautiful. Maybe there'll be a tree role in like the new Lord of the Rings series. They've got the thing happening now.
I would totally
Amazon.
be a tree, honest to gosh. I would be an ant any day of the year. Like, good gosh.
Talk to your people.
I feel like we got to find that wise tree voice inside of us all.
Mm-hmm. I do all those wise. It's so funny because I do all those wise old, sounding people. And Tasha's all the young, edgy, funky people. It's always the funniest thing to see how like our voices just have this very clear signature, and it's like so amazing how there is casting within the voice because you read as a certain thing. It's fascinating. I also love that though, that you said that you kind of booked that job right away after getting to LA, and sort of it's just beautiful how that always happens when it's like you step into a path that's kind of meant for you. You always get that early confirmation, that like beginner's mind sort of like clicks in, and you'll always get a little sign, I think, from the universe to be like, yeah, cool, this is for you, now don't doubt it again, because it's
exactly
true. And I mean, you've gone from like success to success. It's wild how many games you've done and little projects. Like, it's really cool, Tash. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun. I should probably start playing some of them. That I'm sure is even more fun.
We hope you love listening to the Makers podcast as much as we love making it.
And if you would like to show your support and keep us going and keep us making magic and bringing these gorgeous creative conversations to you, perhaps you'd consider becoming a contributor to the Makers podcast. If you'd like to do so,
visit anchor.fm/themakers/support to get started. And now, back to the show. What is that like as a process going in? Because it is so much different than acting on camera, where it's a very specific scene, very specific take. I'm sure there's some of that, but is there also just a ton of that kind of stuff that you got? I forget what they call that, but
sure. Effort sounds. Yeah.
What's it called?
Effort sounds.
Effort sounds. That's it.
Yeah. It's a lot of strange noises, a lot of very strange noises, but those feel the weirdest to do. But I think what I've just realized with acting and with voiceover is the more relaxed I can be, the better. And obviously it's good to rehearse and know what you're going to do, but the best things come from those moments of inspiration in the moment when you are relaxed enough to have that happen. So I think that's actually why my voiceover has really influenced my acting, because I realized the best stuff comes from the things I don't plan, and when I'm free enough to just not be worried about being a fool.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is fun.
Right.
I'm just sitting in the voiceover booth was not always this, I'll tell you that much.
Right.
So,
why are you
overthinking this? You're like in the middle of your wardrobe and you're making strange voices and you're pretending to be, I don't know, a cat or a wise old, I don't know why I'm stuck on animals now, wise old owl.
Or a rock.
Or a rock. So, I think it's just about being free and open to whatever happens in the moment.
Do you feel like you have a thing, so if you're in a session or a recording, do you ever feel like if that tension is sort of rising and it's kind of, overwhelming you or stopping you or blocking you, do you have like a way to release that or kind of reset yourself?
I guess some of the effort sounds help.
Get it out of your system.
Yeah. I used to have I think I still do a bit, but I'm getting better. But it's so bizarre for an actor, but I have serious performing anxiety and the fear of people watching me. Which makes no sense why I've gone into this career at all. But somehow as an actor, I felt safer behind someone else's words and behind another character until I actually started to realize, oh no, it's you. And the more you can bring to that, the more alive it's going to be. And I think the voiceover, you know, I mean, when you used to go into studio, or still do sometimes, you're in a glass box with people just looking at you, doing these really silly things. And the way I tricked myself, I just thought, maybe I'll just pretend that I'm one of these people that don't care what people think. And then the more I thought that, the less I started to care what people thought. I was like, I'll just pretend I'm one of those people who doesn't care if they're doing these really weird voices and faces. And then I started freeing up, and then I started to notice that actually it was fun and it was enjoyable and it was really silly, and other people were getting enjoyment out of how silly I was getting. And I'm a bit of a hand mover and talker, so I move a lot in the booth, so I think that gets some of my energy out. So I think that helped get the tension out. Just, I don't know,
it's so amazing, because it's like, obviously I have the benefit of knowing Tash very well. Obviously she's one of my closest friends, but I think the thing that I love, I mean, one of the many things I love about you, but one of the most delicious things about you is how alive your inner child is. So it's like, anyone who knows Tash well, like, gets to see this, that there is a firecracker in there, and she is so full of joy and delight, and it's like, no, she's naughty. So it's like, I think that I love that basically what you're describing is you kind of activating your inner child through this faked confidence. You're giving your kid the kind of chance to sort of come out, and like, of course everyone's going to be delighted by that. Like, she's so delicious. Like, oh my gosh, I love that.
Oh, that's good. I'll let her come out and play more often.
She needs to. I love her.
Well, it's an old piece of advice that I got way back in the day. I've later applied to the rest of my life, but it was that essentially it sounds like you gave yourself, like you acted yourself into becoming an actor. Like, you kind of forget, you know, that this is what I do. I'm an actor. I can pretend to be confident. Even if I'm not, I can pretend to not care, even though I do. I think that's, and I feel like whenever I had done voiceover work previous to my life now, I felt way more nervous and scared and vulnerable and all the things in the booth than I ever did in front of the camera. And I don't know what that was about. Maybe it's because it was like one portion of the instrument was getting used and that was it, and I wasn't terribly confident in it or something like that. But so I love that you did sort of basically convince yourself that you don't care what people think, and that just made it all blow up. That's beautiful. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, it was a cool transition that started happening when I actually started enjoying it and tricking myself into thinking I actually forget now, you know. Every now and again I get nervous in a booth, but actually it's a place that I feel pretty free.
That's so glorious. Can you talk a bit about, Tash, like about your process as an actress? Like, you know, when you are approaching roles, do you have like an approach you use, or are you generally just sort of doing it, you know, job per job, like what's required?
I think, for the longest time, I've always told myself I need a to Z process, and this needs to be the process, and I don't have one, and that makes me feel like less of an actor who can call themselves an actor, because I don't have my rule book of my method. So I've gone from class to class to find the method that I wanted. I even went to method classes.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. Wow. That was a wild time.
Did you do that together?
Yeah.
Classic method.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Strasberg's method. No way to get to know yourself than to sit in a method acting class. Holy shitbags.
Wow,
yeah,
no,
it's a ride.
really cracked myself open and struggled to put the pieces back together for a while, but I'm back. I'm here. But I think what I've realized more and more is that for each job, it's a different process for me. And the more that I can accept that I don't know what I'm doing when I go in, and I can't have the clipboard of the A to Z rules of what this is going to be. I think when I did have that, I got really caught up in my head, and all my choices were so thought out and not really the way that I would do something in that moment. And I was cutting off a lot of organic choices that just happen. So I think the more that I've I try to trust that things will happen in those moments. And I think it's a lot about doing my homework, really going through the script, reading it again and again and again, and building this life and really identifying with the life and things that I can relate to and how that would make a person react. I'm so fascinated with human psyche and understanding other people. So kind of approaching the character like I would approach another person in this world, like what makes them tick, and trying to understand that more and not have any clear ideas on what that's going to look like on camera, but trust that that will happen when you're with the other people, which is really scary. I'm still terrified whenever I go, even into auditions. I'm like, I can't do this one. This one, I don't know what I'm doing. I cannot do it. But, those usually are the ones where something happens and it happens there, and you have to just be open enough. So I don't really have the method cut out for me. Maybe I will one day.
Well, it sounds like you don't need it.
I mean, whatever you're doing seems to be working. So
yeah,
I wouldn't worry.
It's pretty spectacular to watch. I wouldn't worry about it. But maybe just forget about that one.
What about
it's weird, though.
Oh no, please go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, just to comment on that, like it's so weird how to have that kind of process, because even this no process is a process, right? Like you're still doing a lot of work and approaching it with a lot of historical work and a lot of craft and a lot of intelligence in your ability to sort of empathize and be compassionate to the characters. Like that's a lot of historical work. So you're still approaching it with all of that, but to sort of bring all of that knowledge, but then hold it so loosely and so gently, like this delicate thing, so that there's space for the spirit to move through it. I just think it's such a it requires such kindness to the self and to the process, that I think it's what makes it so difficult. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch when an actor gets this kind of work right, because I think it's the most dynamic kind of thing we get to see. And it, Matt, you don't know this, but after our film screened at the film festival this past weekend, we got so many messages, just like because we had a sold out theater, which was spectacular, but we got so many messages from people just saying how, this similar thing had happened to them. And, they couldn't, the fact that it was the way we were able to construct the film in such a way that made them feel, so seen and, not alone in this. And I'm just like, I just think that when an actor's brave enough to really go there with this kindness in the way you can, Tash, it really does have the power to connect to an audience in a way that a cerebral process or an intellectual process just never does. It's the magic of it.
And I think the more I realize that, the more I get in my head, the further away I get from what I'm wanting to achieve, the further away I get from the character, and the more I can, it's almost like connecting these little fibers of understanding of this person. And as you say, being empathetic towards and bringing my own experience to it, and really like, it's almost like you build these little connections that all come together on the day. But when I think about this equals this, and that means they do this, and I get so far away from it, and I feel like my head and my body don't exist on the same planet.
I mean, it's exactly the same for me. I feel like it's that delicacy of creation where you can't think it, you've got to feel it. Like I know these are words you're speaking because it's a script, but for me it's just a translation of energy. So I have a thought, I have channel or whatever it is, and I put it on a piece of paper, but then you're picking up that and you're recreating the energy, you're amplifying it. So it's like, if you're thinking about it, like, holy hell, you fucked before you begin. Like, you ain't going to get it, like you've really got to just, I don't know, open yourself up to allow it in a weird way. So I don't know. It's the stuff of magic, guys. I just love it.
It really is.
I mean, it was very special. A lot of the people who commented on the film and people we've shown the film to have opened up about their own experiences with something similar to this or the same thing, or, it's opened up so many conversations that I haven't had with a lot of people. And isn't that so magic to be able to connect with people on a deeper level because they're able to open up about an experience that they felt seen by when they
Well, it's wild literally to have somebody grabbing your hand and turning with tears rolling down their cheeks and being like, thank you. Like, I didn't know anyone knew what this was like. And I'm like, yikes. Like, I didn't sign up for that part of this. I was just going to make a movie and put it out there. But I'm like, oh my gosh, it's powerful.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, we had talked about just briefly via text about how much you can love a project and everybody involved can love it and your closest friends can all say they love it. But there is something wonderful about a completely random human being as emotionally moved by something you make. Or, we call it validation, and I'm okay with that. You get the validation that what you made did resonate from people who are not connected to you, do not know you, and they're just judging the work based upon how it made them feel. That's really a special thing, I think. And it's not something we've gotten to do that often. You don't, especially with festivals not being a thing for a while and things like that, you don't get that tangible handhold as much as, and so having it is almost like jarring to go, oh, wow, I didn't realize it moved me. And it's such a moving piece. And I hope that eventually we can talk about it in full volume once it can be seen by everybody.
Seen and streamed. Yeah. I mean, that's the hope, right? Is to have the festival circuit complete and then sort of upload it online and share it. Because, I mean, movies are meant to be watched. They're not meant to be kept on your hard drive. Yeah. That's true, though.
But there's such a humanity to the characters, and obviously Carl did a fantastic job of towing that line between hurting, having someone in his life that was hurting, and not overstepping his bounds. I think that as he saw it as a character. But we can cut it out if it reveals too much or whatever. But there's the moment that really resonated with me was towards the end when you're looking at the ceiling, and you've taken us on this incredibly difficult journey that we all are very empathetic and stuff, and then that just random thought pops into her mind of how that ceiling just needs to get painted. And it was the most human moment for me, because that's exactly how tragedy is to us. We have to have a moment of reality in amongst this ethereal, terrible tragedies that we feel. It's very strange because so I had to put one of my dogs down a few weeks ago, and after having done that, I was outside with my girlfriend and I was hugging her, and it was just horrible. It was the worst day of my life, and I was looking at my door handle, and on the inside of the door handle it was all scratched up, and I was like, why is it all scratched up? I never opened the door with my keys. What's going on there? And I had that exact same process of being having to detach from the pain for a second and obsess about something that was very immediately fixable.
Yeah.
And so, long-winded way of saying, the humanity that was in your character throughout that entire piece was incredibly moving, even as a person who's never experienced that level of grief or pain.
Well, I mean, I would wager that you have if you lost your baby a couple weeks ago, Matt. You're in it, babe. Oh my God.
Yeah, for sure.
You're in it. Tasha and I are big dog people, so we this is devastating when we hear this kind of stuff.
I know, it's so hard.
My darling, I'm so sorry.
It's not something that I've ever. I mean, I've had loss of grandparents and stuff, but nothing in my sort of immediate adult life that feels like this, And so it was and he came into my life at a certain point that it was very. That we bonded immediately, and he and I had a very rough and tumble early life together because he had kind of come from a situation where he's very aggressive and very mean, and he had bitten me in a fight with another dog, and so I was just at a certain point at that crossroads of am I going to give him back because he is bonkers, or am I going to figure this shit out? And we went with figure it out, and he turned into the best, sweetest, most amazing animal. So it was just beautiful story. But it's been a rough few weeks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man.
I'm so sorry.
Worth fighting for, though. I think,
Yeah.
Pets that are just misunderstood and they just need love, just more love, especially when they lash out, just more love.
I hear Andrew
All the
Garfield
love.
saying in his interview about Tick Tick Boom, which incidentally, if you haven't seen Matt, oh my gosh, you have to watch it. It's so ridiculously brilliant. But he was talking about grief and loss, and he was saying how he just believes that grief and tears falling out of your eyes is just unexpressed love. And I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Like, I think that's such a wonderful thing to hold on to while you're kind of going through this process, because it is like, it's such a brave thing to love a pet, because you just know that you're going to outlive the damn thing. And it's like, holy hell, like, it's such a vulnerable, beautiful thing to do. So yeah, I hope that makes you think about that next time you're in a wave, or a wave of awful grief. It's terrible. It really is so hard. I mean, it's interesting though that you find even that though, seeing and comparing it to the film, like you find a way to sort of go like, oh wow, like that is your entry in, because I think that's the thing, is aren't we always just speaking in emotion? Like I don't know, we can have all these thoughts and stuff, but I think that thing is that's connecting us more than anything. So it's incredible to me that you can watch a movie about a woman going through something like that and then find that connection to her humanity. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah. Really how did you prepare then for that? Whether you have or haven't experienced that like level of grief and loss, you know, how do you get into that headspace? And then I'm more fascinated with then once you're there and you've performed it and it's cut and or wrapped for the day, how do you get out of it? How do you balance that and come back
That's
from
a good question.
Sure. Well, I mean, going into it, Josette and I had spoken a lot about the project, and on the day, Josette gave the shortest, sweetest, most wonderful pep talk to the crew. She just said, you know, thank you everyone for being here, and we're all here for the same reason, and I just ask that we all are kind. Something like that. I'm not saying it as beautifully as she did, but something along those lines. And it really set the tone for the day, because we were all there working together and with love and kindness, and it really created a really beautiful, open, safe space for me. I think there was one moment where I was on the bathroom floor and I was like, hold on, can we maybe just make sure that I don't think she has a war or something? And I was worried. Josette was like, don't worry about it. Today you are not the producer, you are the actor. And you can lie back down on the floor and I'll take care of it. And I think just being able to be in that space and know that everyone was holding it very kindly, and getting out of it, I think it's so much like emotion, and it's what we wanted to sort of experience and express with this film, is what it's like to have a big emotion like grief, sadness, anger, whatever that is, and sit with it and just have it be there, and then let it pass through you. And then when you're on the other side of it, it's like a wave, it's past. And so it was actually getting out of it I felt good. I felt really good after the movie, because I was like, I feel like I've had a serious therapy session where like everyone there was holding me in a space of processing some trauma I had experienced and trying to relate it to other people that I knew who had similar experiences. And what Josette and I discussed is we really wanted this to be a love letter to women who've experienced this sort of pain. And so yeah, it just kind of felt like everyone was standing around me holding hands in like a very woo-woo kind of way. They weren't, but it felt like that energetically. And by the end of the day, I felt really good.
I mean, the two of us were literally in the car giggling on the way, or driving back to Los Angeles. We shot down in Costa Mesa. We were like high, like, oh my God, we just did that.
Yeah.
Like two little naughty kids driving back. If the crew knew how we were behaving on the way home, they would have been like, wow, we should never have trusted those maniacs to make this movie. We were like, what just happened? It was very joyful. It's weird though, you're right, because I think when you do sort of allow a feeling, I mean, there's that kind of, I guess what you're describing is a kind of catharsis, you know, inside of your body, things that sort of needed to release. And I mean, you can really see them releasing in you, which is, it's pretty magical actually, when you give yourself that permission and that space to do that. By the way, you gave it to yourself. Like, yes, of course I created a space, but you still did that, Tash. She likes to always say, it was Josette that did it. I'm like, no, literally, you did all of that. I did none of it. It's very funny. We did also an interesting thing the day before, which, I never know with film, because I'm an old theater girl. I never know if I want to do rehearsals or how I want to do things. It's always dependent on the piece. But we did do an interesting thing the day before where I got Carl and Tash together and just sat them down and we read through the script. And of course, there was this added dynamic of the voiceover throughout the text. So, it's almost like Tash had to do 2 performances. Well, not almost, you did. So it was the performance on the day and then the performance in the sound booth afterwards to create that thing. But the whole time she had to have this awareness of the voiceover so we weren't missing those moments with the camera. But I sat Carl and Tash down and they read the script a couple times. And then, I just said to Carl, like, Tash, I asked him if he would be prepared to sort of listen to a story that Tash was going to tell him about a personal trauma. And I said, this is what she's going to be using tomorrow. And he sat there and listened to her in detail describe things that had happened to her. And then when we got there the next day, like he was so kind and so supportive because he knew what she was going to be using and doing. And weirdly in that way that it just opened that space, right, for the trust to be there for the two of you too, which was pretty cool actually to watch from my side,
Yeah.
to see how two actors sort of hold each other through this.
Yeah.
It was really magical.
And I think also having that day before to really connect, once that bond was there, it was like we already shared something. So when we came onto the set on the day, it was like there was obviously we have a friendship built in history, but it was like there was this built-in history and connection of something that we shared that we knew together,
Had you worked with Carl before?
Only in self-tapes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I no, not at all. And I think he's a fantastic actor. And I think I was a little bit nervous to work with him because it's weird when you go from someone who's your friend to someone who's going to be on set with you. There's that part of my brain that's like, oh God, like, don't want him to get here and be like, geez, I'm involved in a film with this person. What is she doing there?
And it's so funny
my
too.
brain's an
like
asshole sometimes.
You're friends with his wife. He's friends with your boyfriend. It's like, it's so funny because everybody's just friends. So it adds such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And also, just to be fair, like, Carl is a huge, big deal in South Africa. Like, he's a really big star. Like, I guess he's one of our most famous exports, as is Tash. Like, Tash is a really huge deal. So it's funny to have these really high caliber actors on the other side of the world pretending to be American in this short film. But
and I think Carl's far more recognized than I am. But again, I'll take it. This is just a love fest going back between us.
Welcome to our podcast.
No, it was
welcome
you.
To the
no,
podcast.
you. No, you. You hang up.
I did not even know. I never asked because when Josette had mentioned that she had these 2 friends that she was thinking of having, I think you'd mentioned that Carl was South African. I did not know. I thought that you were all the way American. I thought you were like, because the accent was perfect. And I was like,
so
yeah, I had no idea. And then I was like, wait, I think that she said that she's not. And she wasn't American. It was so good.
Yeah, I mean, that accent is very convincing. She's very good at pretending.
It's like you were acting or something.
It's like I'm an actor. What? But I do love accents. I've always had an affinity for accents, and I mean, the script wasn't. I mean, obviously we're both South African, so we could have obviously made it South African. But I think there's an element when you add the other accent that sometimes it becomes a story about. That it adds on another element of the story. And you're in America and you wanted to do the circuit here, and not to say that South African accent wouldn't add on, but I think it was just the story was already being told. And
you're right, it does. It adds on like a weird other layer that I don't think is necessarily helpful, because especially this is the strange thing is, as South Africans, we're raised on a diet of American television. So, there's a whole group of South African people who don't watch local content. They only watch international content. Like, it's the strangest thing. They'd rather tune in for a Showtime show than the stuff that's programming locally. So we have been, our ears are so attuned to the American accent that it's kind of not even, we'll take in the material without feeling a disconnect. Whereas I think an American would be taking that and going, what did they just say? Huh? What is, so... Yeah, why complicate things? I mean, I think that was my choice to sort of make it, and also not have it be an international film. I kind of wanted it to be an American film. You know, so yeah, it's interesting. Tash, I'm curious to talk a little about just as far as your history and how you feel like where you've come from and you know, your upbringing and stuff, how you feel like it informs your work, like how it makes you sort of the creative you are today. I mean, obviously that's a really big question, so however that sort of resonates with
and
you.
Go.
And go. Well, as you know, Josette, I grew up in a family of entertainers. So it wasn't unusual to think that this would be a career path for someone. My dad was a singer and for a long time in the West End, and he moved to South Africa, and he did a lot of then he stayed in South Africa for, I think it was West Side Story, but did many stage productions, and then went on to be an actor and a producer, and so I kind of, when I was born, my dad and mom had opened a family theatre in Johannesburg. I think it was 2 when they opened it. So my life growing up, and it was a family-run business, and my parents worked really hard, and it was really successful. But my life growing up was watching the shows and watching rehearsals and seeing the process come to life, and being in the dressing rooms with the cast and you know, falling asleep to the show. My sister and I literally used to sit up in the gantry where they did the lights, and we used to fall asleep watching the shows, and knew all the words to all the songs, and we did all our renditions of it. So my life was circled by creative people and shows and music, and which I really loved, and I think it was always in me and always something that I loved to do. And I went off to castings from, I don't know, I think I booked my first job when I was in nappies. So
that's a diaper for those
it
who
was
don't
something
know.
that just, a diaper. But I think it came to a part where I then had to question, is this something that I'm choosing to do for myself? Is it something that I'm choosing to do because it's the family that I'm in? Is it, and I think I had to kind of go on a little bit of a creative and spiritual quest to find out why I'm doing the thing that I'm doing and why it matters to me at all. And I think it's why I actually moved overseas, and why I moved to Cape Town on my own, is just to figure out why I'm in this industry, why I'm in this crazy business. And I think when I think about who I've always been, I love people. I love understanding people. I think I'm a pretty empathetic person, and I like to think I'm pretty perceptive. And my life growing up has always been kind of people management in a way. And I think I've used that to influence my work, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm here because I want to make connections. And I think that's really, that's influenced the way I think it shifted how I started actually approaching my work, and my process as well, is finding the why underneath all of it. That's been the direction and the purpose, and it's really been freeing as well, very liberating to know that I think it's a funny thing, because no one ever forced me into the industry, but no one ever, I had to come to this conclusion that I'm really here because I love this industry so much. And I can't imagine what the hell else I'd do.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think it's also so cool that you know, in that discovery of the why, I think it's just like, that's where the real power can sort of come in. I don't think we find our power till we figure out why we're doing something, you know. So it's so beautiful. And even just, I didn't know that, like, I'm one of your closest friends, and although I do say that Tash has like 8 other women around the world who literally think they're her best friends, so you know, Tash has a lot of best friends, so I'm not going to claim that she's my best friend, because I might just, you know, sound silly because all the other women are thinking that. But yeah, it's funny, I didn't know that was like a primary purpose of yours is that feeling of connection. It's so cool because it shows. Like, it's weird, of course, it's obvious, but like it's so great that that's intentionally there, because you are a connector. It's incredible, like to see you produce for the first time and be like, yeah, she brought some serious power to this production. I'm like, wow, that's really cool.
Thanks. I don't know if I fully answered your question.
No, you did
but
completely.
Yeah.
That was
a beautiful
good.
answer. I liked it.
Thanks. Oh, good. Of course you did.
Well, has it been more of a, starting in theater, or at least the experience of being in a theater and seeing just the I guess the diversity of style of different things that you can do within that? Do you feel like that also kind of informed that, because you pivoted to voiceovers here and you got some acting here and there's a lot going on in there. Do you think any of that was influential in sort of your ability to do that, to kind of go where your passions are leading you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I love musicals and the theatre so much. I mean, I love to go to theatre as much as possible. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to, but, most of my life was wherever we traveled to, it was about going to a production and seeing someone perform, and I love live theatre. I grew up with more musicals around me, which I really love, but I always knew that I wasn't a musical theatre actor. My dad did one show that was more of a play, and I remember really identifying with it. And although it wasn't the most successful thing he did, I remember thinking, I love just disappearing into that world for that moment and getting to know all these people. And so I think I kind of, through maybe wanting to find my own 2 feet in the industry and trying to find my voice in it, but I think I always knew that it was going to be more film and TV than anything. And the more that I make, more recently in the last few years, I've started to make work that I feel like really resonates with me as a person and the kind of work I want to make. So,
well, I mean, even seeing that the latest Tash has this, obviously, where's Damn sold now, Tash? It's sold it's not only airing in South Africa, right?
As far as I know, they sold it to Amazon in the Netherlands, and they're trying to get it on a few other streaming networks. Right. Currently it is, because they're writing the 2nd season now, and crossing fingers we're going for that this year. And but currently it's mainly on Showmax, which is across Africa.
Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't realize that was all over Africa. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So this show,
it was the 2nd watched show for the whole year on Showmax.
Oh, wow.
And that competes with HBO shows as well, because Showmax streams HBO
That's
shows
really
as well,
cool.
which is fantastic.
So Tashi did this show with, incidentally, just a director that I'd worked with years ago on the show that I was on in South Africa. He's just such a cool guy, and like he's created his own show called Damn. And it's this dramatic thriller horror vibe, and it's just, it's really gritty and interesting, and I think it's so specifically South African, but in its specificity, like so relatable. And Tash is a series regular on that, and you're right. Like, weirdly, in the last few years, I'm seeing with your work, obviously, because the more you are being intentional and sort of dropping into yourself, which is such a strange thing to say, but yes, the more you're becoming the artist you want to be. Like, that work was so gritty and so interesting, and just the way you approach that character, like, it's so great to see you starting to play in these other spaces you sort of haven't before. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like there's a freedom in it's almost growing up a little bit, I think.
Oh man, isn't it a relief?
Yeah. Sheesh.
Yeah.
I think, but even when I was doing kind of the college girl roles, I just like, I feel like the kind of, I don't know, even then I was like, can't I play the other one? I'll play that character. She's so much more interesting.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was such a cool project to work on, and knowing that Alex wanted the gritty, raw realness of the performances. And I mean, my audition was very unplanned and with someone that I didn't know at the time. I just asked her to help me with the tape, and I think the reason why I liked it was because it was kind of a little bit messy and like a texture to it that you couldn't really put your finger on, and not very polished. And I think because he gathered a cast of actors who were happy to get a little bit more raw and real and not so concerned about the exterior, I think it made the show very interesting.
It really did. I mean, it's fascinating. I wish there was a way we could send you a link so you could watch it, Matt, but maybe when it comes to this territory you'd be able to see it. Yeah, because it really is very cool. And I love also that there's a playfulness when you're not making for this territory, because I feel like obviously the competition is so high, and so many networks are developing so many things, and stuff's not going, and it's so difficult to get a show made here, whereas in South Africa there's kind of this, it's run and gun, man. It's just like you've got to just like get that stuff made, and while there is a rawness to it, there's also like a lot of freedom for just, I don't know, like unrestrained creativity in a weird way. Like it breeds such a cool, I don't know, like approach in a way.
It was also the first time in a very long time working in my own accent.
Oh, it's so weird.
What's that like?
Which was a strange thing. Usually when I pick up a script, I just immediately go American. Or if I tell a story, I'll play back the story telling people, and all my characters in the story become American, even if they weren't. I just want to Americanize everything.
So weird.
But I actually found an amazing freedom in it. I thought usually hearing my voice distracted me quite a lot, and I liked the accent to get me into a different character. But I think because for the first time I was not worrying so much about my accent, a part of my brain could relax and think about other things. And so then there was quite a lot of freedom in that, actually, once I started getting used to how my voice actually sounds.
But it's strange too, because accent affects rhythm, which I don't think people realize, but it is like, it's such a rhythmic thing. I mean, even if when I'm writing an English script or an American script, I'm speaking out loud all the time and saying these things in the accent that is so that I'm getting the rhythm right. But I don't think people really realize that when you shift an accent, you shift an internal rhythm. So it's kind of lovely to sort of resort back to default settings, be like, oh, this is how this instrument works. In a weird way. That's cool.
That's why I never got into the American Office. It was sort of also just kind of a weird time period of where I just wasn't watching much TV. But the thing is, I was such a massive fan of Gervais and Merchant's, the original version.
Yeah.
But it has a cadence and a rhythm that was just so unique for TV at the time. And a bunch of people that you've never heard of. I mean, now, of course, like Martin Freeman and all the guys are massive stars now. But so when I did watch the pilot, they used the same pilot as Ricky Gervais's and Stephen Merchant for the American version of the show. They just it was more or less word for word. And because the cadence was so completely off, I was like, no, thank you. It was, because you get so used to it. So I imagine that's a layer of the cloak of the character that you don't get to put on when you're speaking in your own accent, especially after so long after not doing it. But to get comfortable with, it's kind of weird. You got comfortable being other people, and now you got to get comfortable being yourself again.
Being myself, Well, that's what the whole of life is about, just getting back into yourself, right? But I think also it had kind of having South Africans around me, and we were shooting in pretty rural South Africa. We were out in the Eastern Cape, farmlands, and it was in the middle of nowhere basically. And hearing your accent and your feet on the land, and I think it was a pretty special experience that I realized the power of my own voice and my own accent within me is like part of my story. And I think for the longest time trying to, be American for these other roles or auditions, and so much of what makes me is obviously where I'm from, and being able to reconnect to that part of me was a really wholesome experience.
Well, there was like a
while we're
tangible
shooting.
shift. I mean, when you before you left to go back to South Africa to go and do some work, and there was like a real, I think, a profound shift that happened from that experience. Just from the outside looking in, and when I saw you come back, and I was just like, wow, like you were definitely different. Like it was like you'd kind of landed on like your feet back on the earth again in a weird way. It's been spectacular to watch. It really has, that transformation.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of actually what we were speaking about earlier with the film is before we all went into lockdown, and as you said, the world exploded for a little while.
Just a small while.
Well, it still is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a pretty serious operation, and it was quite a life-threatening thing that happened, and it didn't know going in. And I think that was a huge part of it. Is there was an insane amount of gratitude for my life that I've never felt before. I think so many parents and elders say, you've got your health and that's all that matters. And I always thought that was such a, like, what do you mean? But it really resonated with me in such a real way for the first time that I thought, wow, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we have. And that's all that actually really matters. And all the things that I was worrying about before that operation, about rushing back to LA and the things I had to do, and I had promised this and I need to do that, none of that stuff mattered. All that mattered at that moment was I was alive and I had people around me that loved me. And I think that was a very profound shift that happened in me. And then we all went into lockdown, and then we had many, many, many months to think about our lives and what we wanting to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a little bit of soul searching happened, of like, if I'm doing this, why am I doing this? Because there are many days that it's hard. It's really hard sometimes, and the highs are so high and wonderful and fills me up with so much joy. But man, it's hard sometimes. And you really got to be clear why you're doing it sometimes. And I think the whole of 2020 for the whole world, of course, was a time to really reflect. But I think that's what it was. And then I went straight into that job at the end of 2020, and we shot it at the end of 2020, mostly in lockdown. So I was coming into that job with a very different perspective of why I was doing what I'm doing, I guess.
That's really powerful.
And it's hard to remember all the time, I must say. I think saying that, it was like, oh yeah.
It's so frustrating, isn't it?
Write that down.
we need some form of tragedy or some sort of potentially life-threatening thing or a loss to really jog us back into that sense. Because we're already, it's been 2 years really since, the start of COVID being a thing that was really affecting our lives. Yeah. But even now, still, I completely take for granted the freedom of, going outside and doing whatever I want to do, from having spent so much time not being able to, or at least with certain levels of personal, restriction and stuff. So it's so weird that we don't get to have that moment of gratitude. I think, but that's the thing though, I think with auto-suggestion and things like that, I try to practice in meditation to basically infuse myself with a dose of gratitude for the things that I have. And sometimes it's like force feeding it, you have to force feed yourself to be happy.
Everyone says it's like gratitude's a practice, and I do. I really believe that. I think that it is. It's a conscious effort, just like going to the gym or whatever these other dumb things we have to do to make ourselves function properly in the world. I haven't gone to a gym in a very long time, for the record.
I can't remember the last time I went to a gym.
I'm practicing gratitude, but I ain't practicing bench pressing. That's for damn sure. But yeah, I'm practicing pastry eating, which I find far more pleasant. But yeah, I think it's just like, I don't know, we have to practice it, because it is. We just get silly. And I think fear creeps in, and doubt, and all the stuff that the ego likes to sort of create. But Tasha's right. Like, I think that understanding why you're here and keeping that the focus and just being damn grateful for it. Like, my gosh, the fact that we get to do this for a living is insane. It really is.
It is insane.
There's so many people who just hate what they do.
It so seriously for.
I know.
Yeah. But I do think that's why it's usually, older people who are saying, giving you these pearls of wisdom is because they've experienced life, and it doesn't really land until it really resonates with you. And I think hopefully people don't have to go through massive tragedies to realize, you know, to have these moments of impact in their life. But I think it has to resonate with you, because you can say something till you're blue in the face and what you're grateful for, but it's like only really when you feel that feeling of what it really means to be grateful for the most basic thing.
It's incredible.
And becoming grateful for it before it's real is something that I've found is an extremely powerful tool to, you know, I'm already thankful for the life that I have in the future that I'm building now, in order to, and also just to be so grateful for the moment and for what you have. So I think that a lot of times you can get locked into a sense of lack. And so there's this, everything that I'm lacking in my life is tainting my ability to be grateful for what I do have. And so once you can establish a happiness, a joy center, a gratitude center that revolves around what you have now and what you're working towards, that's when it really starts to get good, I think.
Yeah. Tasha, is this making you want to get on a plane and fly to Colorado and work with Matt Jackson?
Come on, let's go. Let's do it.
Listen, I had a whole holiday plan that didn't happen because of COVID. So I have many $100s worth of Spirit flights just sitting.
Perfect.
Oh my God.
I mean, and what must I do with
you
Spirit
must go to
flight
Colorado.
credits?
I think I
must go to Colorado.
Yeah. Or you can sell them and get a different airline. We'll, you know, whatever.
No one wants to buy Spirit credit flights. Sorry, Spirit, but
not sponsored.
Well, the other magic that we have,
not sponsored by Spirit.
We haven't spoken about is we, you know, when Matt and I were putting this together, this list of people who we'd love to interview for our podcast when it eventually got started, which hallelujah it has.
Here we are.
A person that Matt put on the list was Brent Findley, and this is how I found out about Brent. And of course, yes, and of course Matt's our connector to our real life Ted Lasso.
Yes,
a real life Ted
Isn't he, though?
Lasso. Yeah. We love that man. If he was on this podcast, all the love that has been shared between Josette and me would just be just rushing.
We would be
towards.
like Care Bear beaming right from our bellies.
Well, let's have him on, and you. We'll have all four of us. That would be great. Because
oh my gosh.
I think he'd be really overwhelmed.
I think he would too. I don't think he'd be able to take this because we're a little obsessed with him. But so Brent Findley is just the most incredible sound editor, and he just came on board for a shaman. He next leveled the shit out of the entire project. So we thought we'd made a beautiful film, and you know, we were really excited about it. And then the next thing, he was throwing money into this and having us at Universal Studios and doing our sound mix on the lot. And he just...
I think you need to say that again.
Good God.
Universal Studios.
Yes.
Louder for the kids.
It was like, good gosh. We couldn't believe that this was even happening to us. So, that's all thanks to you, Matt.
Well, Brent's just a magical man. You're welcome. I mean, it's really just at the end of the day, so important to connect beautiful people to beautiful people. And Brent was one of the first people that I ever met in LA.
Wow.
When I was, I've been there for a while, but I had created this web series and put out a Craigslist ad. This was 2013, something like that, for a DP. So for a cinematographer. And I got the response from this guy named Brent, and he was like, not sure if you need a sound person or an editor or this or that, but I'd love to chat with you guys and talk about the project, because I think I sent him the pilot maybe, and he was really into it. And so we had a meeting. That's how I met Brian Bailey, who's my editor and soon to be business partner in the ad agencies. So it's kind of amazing how all of that works. But the thing is, Brent next leveled everything about, not just the project, but just about my life. Like I understood things about film and TV in the 6 weeks we shot this little project that takes you years if you were just starting from the bottom, And so he just elevated everybody's game around him, and not to mention just the sweetest guy on earth.
I think I learned so much from him, just as far as like the very definition of what excellence is. I think I've always thought about excellence and was like, oh, I want to be excellent. But like working with Brent really gave me a tangible, real world experience of being on the receiving end of excellence, and it kind of just made me be like, wow, I never want to be another way. Like I want to be that person in everything I do. He's just
when he said he would like to help and he was in it, man, he was in it. And he was so, I mean, the tiniest details that if it's not done, people will notice. But when it is done, I mean, that's the excellent work of sound. You don't know that it's even there. And the finest details he was tweaking to make this bathroom the real world and sound and experience of this character. And I think a lot of what we heard from the feedback of people who watch the film is you're really in that bathroom,
and that's a lot on him.
Experience it. And I know that's the camera work, but I think a lot of it is the sound as well, because it was so detailed, the like what they created in terms of sound to be in that bathroom.
One of the things I love about those little details was the dripping of the water. It represented something throughout, but it was not, you noticed it and then you didn't. And then you kind of noticed it, and then you didn't. It was this roller coaster ride of noticing something and then not. And it's just like, and I mean, it seemed to have Brent's fingerprints all over it, but I don't know.
Oh my God, all over. That was totally him. And so, you know, I'd said to him, like, I just was like, well, I've got the joy of collaborating with an absolute genius. So I was like, I want you to give me everything. Like, tell me everything you want to do with this, and then I'll rather rein you in. And he even went as far as creating, those drips were rhythmic. There was like a rhythm to them, and they were timed perfectly with the ticking clock in the hallway outside the door. So they actually were all functioning in the different worlds, but like creating the sense of rhythm, which is like, oh my God, it's spectacular. Like, who comes up with that? You know, I can claim no credit. I was like, dripping taps and go. And that's what he did, you know, so it's remarkable. Yeah. Anyway, really so thanks, Matt.
Well, you're welcome. My pleasure.
And thanks, Brent.
He's so wonderful.
Brent, we love you.
We really do.
We could just do a whole podcast about him, and he doesn't even need to come on the show. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, listen, you just need to look at his credits and.
Well, that's the thing is I've known Brent for a very long time now, and it just constantly keeps on going, and because there was one stretch of time where he was like, oh, check out this scene from Bridgerton. Oh, check out this scene from this. Oh, and by the way, this show called Ted Lasso that's coming out. It might be kind of fun. And he was just like, wait, what are you doing?
And now he's like winning awards for all of that, right? Like, I mean, Marilyn, who did our ADR session recording and was our recordist for that and helped. I mean, she was extraordinary too. The whole team, the Foley team, everybody was extraordinary that he brought on. But they were all award winning. I mean, my gosh, like when we were collaborating, they just received their awards, you know, that last week. So it's extraordinary. My God. I mean,
it is. I think what's so magical also about it is, you know, when we set out to make the film, I know that you had big ambitions of making it in 2019 and you had funding and there were other people involved and it kind of fell apart and all the reasons it didn't happen. When we set out to make it, we knew we had no budget and we just thought, okay, well, we're in lockdown. What's the simplest, easiest, smallest way we can make this film that is truthful to the story that we want to tell? And we just focused on the bare essentials and the story that we were trying to put out. And it's so incredible. I mean, the connection that has happened just from the film and the people that we've met who are such incredible people and so many incredible talents. And then, you know, the people who got involved on Brent's team and the Think Tank and Waterman Sound, a lot of them had said the film for them resonated and were personal films for them for their own reasons. And, you know, just in that way that someone watched something and they're working on these huge projects that I would never dream in a million years that they would want to make out sweet little short film. But how wonderful that it connected all of us. And
I think the thing too, like, and Matt and I have spoken about this a lot, but it's like about, you know, finding people that you just actually really love being around and finding people who are, you know, have similar voices and taste and things, and then holding on to them and making. I mean, that's just the dream, right? Like Tash and I obviously now are starting to put together Desert Bird, my feature that I wrote in 2019, with a view for me to direct, which is super exciting. But, you know, please believe all these people are going to be involved. Like the second somebody gives me money, I'm hiring all these people because I don't want to work with anyone else now. Like, it's just, I just love them. You know, we've found a group of people who are kind and brilliant and, you know, my gosh, like, isn't that the dream?
And not to say that anybody that's, you know, the thing is, I will take kind, nice, dedicated, hardworking over any level of talent, you know.
Dude, me too.
100%. And so,
but isn't this the bonus, that these kind, nice people
That's
just
exactly
happen
it.
to be geniuses?
They just happen
also
to be geniuses.
insanely talented as
exactly.
well.
Exactly. So
That's why I
I'll
say
always
it's the
make it
dream.
work to work with people that I love any time of the day. It's just so much more important. And we've worked on a lot of sets. All of us have. And we've seen the good and we've seen the bad. And the bad is a non-negotiable. Like, it's just a complete no asshole policy on set, 100% down the line, you know, at this point in
We know too
my
much
career.
now. I'm like, also, it's 2022. Like, welcome to the world. Like, there is no space for assholes anymore. I'm sorry. We've just survived a pandemic.
Oh, the arseholes can stick with the arseholes.
Well, yeah,
They can make their
absolutely.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's
They
still
can do their
surprising
own
when you
thing,
hear
I'm fine.
of someone being taken off a show or removed for, you know, bad behavior and this kind of thing. Because I guess I maybe just live in a dream world. I just think, I'm like, how is that person even existing still in this world?
Me
How
too.
is that
Yeah.
even acceptable? Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I feel like I like living in a bit of a naive dream world where everyone's nice
Oh
to
my
each
God,
other.
I'm
It's kinda
completely
nice.
deluded.
Yeah.
I'm completely delusional with all this stuff. I'm just like, I'm confused by it regularly, where I'm like, I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
why would anyone want to work with those people?
But I think there's also a difference of you know, nice and then real, because I think there are sometimes the people that are nice, but you can tell it's not real. And I think when you have these real connected experiences with people, rather than people just, I don't know, blowing
Well, by the
smoke.
way, isn't
Yeah.
that real kindness though? Like, real kindness is people that can tell you the truth and deliver the criticisms when it's
Yeah.
needed and say what they really want to, you know. I mean, I really do believe that is kindness. I don't think kindness is nice. I think nice is insincere and sometimes a little scary, to be honest. Yeah. Anyway, well, I guess we should
Yeah,
probably all just make a
honesty.
project, really, because, you
All
know,
right.
it's just forced
Yeah,
alive.
what we're making, guys.
Tasha and I are going to use Tasha's Spirit credits to come to Colorado and
Perfect.
make a movie.
There we go.
Perfect. It'll be a fun ride.
All right. Do you like jump seats? Yeah. Like wireframes in your back. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, they've merged
this
with
is-
Frontier or some other airline. Again, not a sponsor, equally shitty. So they're going to have a whole,
God.
like a bigger fleet of budget airlines. So there we go. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing we're probably going to pack our own
Great.
snacks because they're probably not going to give us snacks.
Probably.
Oh, that's sad.
No, I mean, or they will, but you charge for everything. You charge for
Yeah, it's
breathing on that
$15
airline.
per seatbelt.
Oh, God, that's terrifying.
Just the one side of it, though. You have to pay for the other
You want the
side.
Maybe we
buckle
should drive
or the
to
button?
Colorado. This is sounding really scary.
I drive everywhere nowadays, and I love it. One of my clients is in Lubbock, Texas. It's about 8.5 hours, and I just
No
drive
ways.
now instead of fly because I just love zoning out to a podcast. No lines, no
Yeah.
craziness, no $9 bottles of water. It's just wonderful. Yeah.
No, it's true. It's true. And also, this country is so beautiful. So to be able to see, I mean, even just our drive up to Mammoth last weekend was just, oh my God. Like, how have I not done that already?
I
It's so
really want to
beautiful.
get an RV.
Ooh, there you go.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at renting some a while ago, and it's
What's
pricier
the
than
cost of an
Airbnbs at the
Airbnb?
moment.
It's insane.
crazy.
I'm like, to stay in your RV? What? It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you get to travel around, and you know, I don't know, have a whole house with you.
Well, Tash, when you get one, careful, because I'm coming too.
Get done.
Well, Brian has one.
You want to come out?
Yeah, let's go.
He does?
Brian has one. Yeah,
Oh,
he's got a
great.
toy hauler. He's got one of those cool. What do you call those things? Not spiders. What are those? The ATVs, you know, that you take out into the sand dunes and they drive around.
Oh my gosh,
And
yes.
stuff like
They have
that,
the little
so-
cages over them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to wear a helmet and everything. It's fun. Yeah. But he's
Yikes,
all about the
that sounds
RV life
scary.
now. Yeah. So we
Where
should
does he
mention
live?
though.
Yeah, I think lots of people got into RVing in
Yeah,
2020
because
as well.
everyone was like, I need to get out, do something else. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, Brian lives he lives downtown. Just so did you see that doc series about what was the hotel called where the girl disappeared? She was a tourist and she disappeared at a hotel down by Skid Row in LA.
Oh God, I haven't heard about this.
It's great. It's really good. Really well made. But his apartment building is a few blocks from that. So yeah.
Oh no ways.
Yeah,
So he's
yeah.
downtown LA. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
Yeah.
No ways.
Where are you, Natasha?
And you're in Colorado. You're just wearing your Dodgers
Yeah,
cap for
yeah.
us. Good.
I like to rep the rep LA while I'm out here. It's nice. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm currently in Silver Lake in
look
LA.
at you guys.
She's right near me.
Yeah.
She's just on the other side of the reservoir.
It's on the other side of the reservoir. Stone's throw
perfect.
away.
Really lovely. If you've got a
I can't
very
actually
strong
throw that
arm.
far.
I mean, I can't throw that far.
As you know,
Like,
I can't
Who
throw
is
that far.
throwing
That's
that
the one thing
stone?
that.
Thor? I'm very confused. Oh my god!
And you've seen me throw a stick for
She
Hermione.
cannot
And it's
throw
not very.
straight. It's
Oh.
very funny. No, it's quite a tragic
I
thing.
blame anything that I like to think that I'm good at things. Like sporting things. And if I can't do anything that I assume in my head I'm good at, I just blame it on being left-handed.
Oh, yes.
Very funny.
I think it's a safe. It's because I'm left-handed. They don't teach us how to throw sticks as left-handed.
I'm kind of, left-handed. Yeah, it works.
So,
Oh my god.
yeah,
That's
does
funny.
it? I don't know if
But
it
it's been
does.
working.
No one ever lets me get away
It's
with
been
it.
working. So
Well, you
they're
can
all
just
smiling
say
and
it's,
nodding.
it's just different in Africa. Left-handed, we just...
Do you know how
Can't
many
throw
times I
anything.
say that to get myself out of trouble? It really works. It's actually, but after this now, it's gonna stop working because I'm gonna out
I
myself.
know,
But,
everyone knows the secret.
well, this was probably the
Should
most
start a support group
an African support group. Good gosh,
for
left-handed
left-handed
people,
who can't throw
left-handed
straight.
Africans. I'm in. I think it's a great idea.
I think maybe that's the pilot. Maybe that's what we shoot. Left-handed Africans.
Maybe it's very niche, but
Super niche.
maybe people will relate.
Well, before I was thinking too. It is interesting that I think South Africa has some of the New Zealand circa like early 2000s vibes in terms of sort of an industry that probably is ready to bust out with their own content
Yes.
and their own everything. Because you're gonna see a lot of it. I mean, like, well, the show that you were on, is it Queen Sono on Netflix? Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a South.
Yeah.
Was that one of the first early ones?
There was a
Coming out of
show
South
called was Queen Sono the first, or was Blood and Water first? I can't remember which.
They actually shot it at the same time.
Oh, did they?
Blood and Water and Queen Sono were together at the same time.
first Netflix
and,
originals, I
one
guess.
was shot, and Queen Sono was shot predominantly in Johannesburg, and then Blood and Water, incidentally, by Gambit Films, which are a group of people who I went to film school with, all from my year. They all shot Blood and Water in Cape Town.
That's cool.
Yeah, but
yeah,
also
I
those
think-
aren't the first shows that have traveled though, because I mean even the show that I was in 2010, 11, 12, whatever, that was sold internationally. But I guess Netflix has made it all just more accessible, right? Like it's more.
Yeah, I think it's just reaching a wider audience and a more commercial audience. And I think South Africans are really coming into their own with creating their own content. That also happened in 2020 because so many international productions cancelled, and we had so many people who had to start looking inwards and start creating their own stories and working on their own projects. And I think it's one of the reasons why we got such a fantastic cast and crew for Damn, because everyone was available.
Available, yeah.
Yeah. But I really do think there's such brilliant content coming out of South Africa, and it's starting to grow. And I think for the longest time, South Africans have been very confused about our history and our culture and who we are. And I think the more people are just stepping into our own identity and what makes us a mixed bag of South Africans and really owning the past that we've had, I think really interesting shows are starting to be made, and it just feels like creatively it's really starting to spark. It's quite exciting.
It's and I love that we're in a time where it matters less and less where something came from. Because of all of the streaming apps, you could be watching a show and go, I love this show. The vibe's different. What is this? And then you go, oh, it's a South African show. You don't think about it like, like when the only way you could get a show from the BBC was via DVD or whatever. And so it's cool to have the access. And we talked about it a long time ago that there's still there's a content sort of void in certain countries where they just need more, and not even want more of their own content to see their own stories being told.
It's interesting though, because there's this hurdle that you have to leap over being a person from another territory or creative in another territory, is that we've always looked to America as the gold standard of what it is to make a TV show or a movie or whatever it is. And I think the biggest struggle is, as the South African, you have to first go, my voice matters. my stories matter. You first have to come to that knowing, and then you can step into the power, and then you can start to create something that's not Americanified in a weird way, because what you're seeing coming out of, I mean, not that I think that it's something I'd ever want to watch again, but Squid Game, you know, I think the genius in that it was so specifically that territory, you know, it was so specifically that voice, it was so specifically that culture, but in its specificity, it becomes wildly relatable because, of course, at the core of us is just our humanity. So I think that's the work really for the South Africans now, is to sort of just really own that in an unashamed way and know that it is translating, it is connecting, you know.
And not the cliche version of the story that we feel people need to hear about South Africa. But I mean, I think that's what made Damn very exciting, is it was very unique. Yeah. It was a story that very specific, but for the first time quite a unique story and told in South Africa. But it was like it was there all along.
Of course.
You know?
But I mean, the creator has to find the bravery to be able to tell that story, right? In a way that only he can. You know, and I think that's the thing, is an American person can't tell that story. Whereas before we were all trying to tell American stories, but Americans can tell their own stories.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then sometimes I'll pretend to be American to be in them too, thanks.
Well, you know, there is this back and forth. As I say, I'm about to start making an American movie.
Such a paradox.
I know, I'm like, oh wait, what am I saying?
Can you try
cancel all of that?
Can you play a right-handed American? That might be the big
you
one.
know,
Yeah, the white whale.
every now and again when a shot is set up a certain way and then you have to do something with your right hand, I'm like, all right, it's just gonna have to work
Why
with
does it
this.
feel like Zoolander? We can't turn can't turn left. Oh my god, it's so good.
As long as I don't have to throw a stick,
Yeah,
I think
no
I'll be
sticks.
fine. It's just the throwing of the stick. It's really it's hard.
It flips
work
around.
getting
It might
straight.
come back and hit you. There's a lot going
Well,
on.
I just don't know. It's the left arm, right arm. I think it's actually because I'm a little bit ambidextrous, so I don't really know. Anyway,
it's hard to choose.
It's the trees that are in the way, and we don't have to talk about it.
It's too good. Well, this was the most delicious conversation. Obviously, we could just keep going because we have been keeping going. But I'm aware that Tash must probably want to get back to her life on the other side of the reservoir.
I guess going to take a walk next, or
I don't know, throwing stones across to you,
nice.
trying to reach you.
Trying. But thank you so much for this. Thank you for your time and for all your generosity and for being so honest and connected and connecting with us. We really, really appreciate
and
it.
congratulations to you both for A Shame. It's a beautiful piece.
Thanks, Matt.
I'm excited for the world to see it, and congratulations for achievement in writing at the Mammoth Film Festival.
Exactly.
So congratulations to that. That's huge to
and
you,
that's
Josette.
across the whole festival.
everything.
I'll have you know, there was one award given, and it was to Josette. Not only award, but in
Yeah.
writing, one
Amazing.
writing award.
So happy for you.
It was a very shocking experience. Tash did say, you just sat there like a statue. I was like, my whole body was shaking. I was in such shock. So yeah, it was
Josette.
very kind of him.
Josette
Yes,
Eels.
they called me Josette.
Josette?
But I'll take it. They were trying
I
to be
said,
good Spanish speakers.
eels?
And I'm like, nope, it's not Spanish.
That's you.
Yeah, I was like,
Eels,
wait,
eels,
they're talking
eels.
to me. Yeah, that was really wonderful.
Josette.
I know
That's
that name.
wonderful. I love just blatant name drops. Mistakes.
It's
so
a
funny.
mini Jose, apparently.
That's
It's a Jose. Yeah. That's
They were
Josette.
just hoping, and then you walked up and they're
Small
like, that's not who we thought it was.
Yeah, he was like, oh
That's
shit, how do you say
not-
your name? And then obviously corrected it after when I walked off with my mini statue. Yeah, very sweet. But yeah, thank you. Thank
So
you for
wonderful.
saying that.
Congratulations.
Thank you both so much. I want to say thank you guys as I started, but I'm really trying not to do that anymore.
Trying to break
thank
your
you both
patriarchal
very much.
inheritance.
I'm trying to break the pattern of just calling everyone guys. Thank you both very much, you wonderful humans. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
It was so
Thank
happy.
you for joining us. So nice to meet you finally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, finally. Who knew that this was going to be the way that we
know.
met? But
Well,
I
I'll
like
take
it.
it.
It was a long time coming, and let's get talking some more after this when about going
Yes.
to Colorado and making something happen soon.
Definitely.
See you in Colorado.
perfect.
Well, that's what I'll be doing after this call. I'll be calling Spirit.
Yes.
Planning
Cool.
the
Getting my
flights.
flight
Let's
organized.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks, Tashi.
Will they pick up the?
Will they pick up? Well, they disconnected all their phone lines. It's a budget thing.
There you go.
You guys are the worst.
You have to
about
pay.
Spirit. This is hilarious. Spirit is going to hate you forever. I haven't said anything
But I
bad
still
in case
fly
I have
with
to fly
them.
with them.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
We
But I
love you,
still fly
Spirit.
with
We
them,
love what you
so
offer.
We love
Just
you.
offer more.
Thank you.
We love you,
Yeah.
Tash. Thank you so much.
For less.
Have a
So-
fabulous rest
Bye.
of your week.
Thank
Bye,
you so
darling.
much. It
Thanks,
was a pleasure.
guys. Bye. Thanks, Matt. Bye.